Welcome back to the channel, people. KG is back, and it is time for a new video talking today about something that we all did a bit yesterday, and that's a bit of a sleep during that game. But we're going to delve into those numbers a little bit more because there could be a deeper problem with Leeds United in the early kickoffs. Going to also speak about Isaac Schmidt, Man of Solomon, and being a bottle of ketchup, and also what we need to do in order to solidify ourselves in the top two in this division, which is where we want to be. Before I get into the video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, drop your comments and thoughts on anything discussed in the video below. Thank you to Malcolm Patrick on the previous video and Stephen Short for the super thanks on the last videos. Much appreciated, guys. And big up to all my members of the channel. Salute to all this for all the support. If you want to become a member of the channel, the link is in the description. Now, the main part of today's video is what we saw yesterday. We've seen before from Leeds United in 12:30 kickoffs, but I didn't realize how bad it was. You know, you do these match reactions and you watch the games, of course, and you do think there's some kind of pattern. We seem to be okay with Friday night kickoffs. You know, we seem to be okay with those. I go into the weekend feeling a lot more optimistic about the football matches ahead because we've won on Friday or not lost. But the 12:30 kickoffs have been a problem for Leeds United, and LUFC data has come out with a very telling stat, and I do wonder if the journalists are going to ask Daniel Farke about this, because let me give you the stat. Leeds have now failed to win in any of our last 7 championship matches that have kicked off at 12:30 p.m. That's a win 0, drawn 4, lost 3. We've only scored the opening goal in one of these games. Now, for me, this suggests more of a preparation problem than any kind of luck or anything you want to put into that, because before anyone says, oh, we've gone down to Bristol City, whether we've traveled the day before or on the morning, we would have traveled the day before, people, but other teams do it and have gone to Bristol City and won. We heard the stat yesterday about Bristol City, and over the last couple of years they've lost nearly over 30 games at home. So I don't want to hear about any traveling, any excuses like that. For me, this kind of thing now comes into preparation. What are we not doing correctly to be prepared for the early kickoff? Now, we know that early kickoffs are a lethargic experiences for everybody. I mean, we saw with the Bristol City crowd yesterday, they were absolutely dead. There was zero atmosphere unless it was generated by the Leeds United fans. But what are we not doing correctly? What is Daniel Farke not doing in preparation for these games? Is there something from the night before that we need to implement for the players? Not a bedtime. I don't want to say bedtime curfew, but what is going wrong with the preparation for these 12:30 kickoffs? Because now it does make you feel, when we do have the next 12:30 kickoff, whenever that may be, it's like, well, what's going to be the issue here? What's going to be the issue? Why we are not maximizing our potential? Because once again, I want to just pinpoint this onto where we are. We're in the championship, people. This isn't the Premier League where we're struggling with no wins in 7 from 12:30 kickoffs, and you're talking Premier League opposition. We're talking championship here. These are teams that we should be beating. And even some comments yesterday, I mean, some people talking about, you can't win every game, but you can win a lot of games in this league when you've got the squad that we have. And if you don't believe in the squad, and you don't think that we are worthy of the points that I believe that we should, then we're not having the same conversation. But when you do have the personnel that we have and that we had against Bristol City, who were out with injured players themselves, they had to in game revert to their third choice left back because the second choice went off injured. We should be taking home those points. Now, Daniel Farke will probably go to this stat, which is good for him, because this is what we know he prides himself on. LUFC data also putting this out there. 58 matches under Daniel Farke, 51 goals conceded, but 26 clean sheets. Leeds have kept clean sheets in 45% of championship matches under Daniel Farke, and he will pride himself on that. But what I would say is, and this is where the argument where people talk to me about Jose Mourinho and the boring football, is that Jose Mourinho does play boring football, but what he'll do is he'll get that goal and then smother the game. There's a lot of these clean sheets that we've had that have been draws, in terms of nil-nils and things like that, and not coming away with 3 valuable points. And it's happening a little bit again. We're not alone. Burnley keep on tripping up as well, and I'll show you the table after. They drew their game yesterday as well. But I'm focused on what we're doing, people. I'm focused on this football club, because it's imperative, and I mean imperative, that we get promoted. And I just feel that we held back. And listen, I had praise for Sam Byram yesterday just for his game, but that's because of his game. That's not the maximum that we could have got out of that position. Now, if you're looking for defensive cover, he does that probably the best out of them because he's more defensive minded, as we saw with the 2 interceptions in the first half. But Isaac Schmidt, let me just say this once again. I've never seen this player play in a real 90-minute match. I've just watched clips of him. So I'm not going to profess that he is the answer. But from the clips I've seen of Isaac Schmidt, he is an attacking fullback. So when Leeds United purchased him, they would know that they're getting an attacking fullback. Danny Farker would be aware that we're getting an attacking fullback. And as Angus Kinnear said, we are buying players that will help us now, not in 6 months. So my question is, when you've got Firpo out, who is an attacking fullback, we rely on Junior Firpo more for his attacking output than for his defensive ability. Why wasn't Isaac Schmidt the like-for-like replacement? And now we're going to go into another game this weekend against Plymouth. We're going to be at home, but I do expect to see Firpo back as he should be. But I think we're going to see Byram on the right to cover the now suspended Jaden Bogle. But my thing is, if you don't have the confidence in Isaac Schmidt, why did we buy him? And this is where I go in the summer and where I speak about the transfer window rating and everything else like that, and players that we could have got. You could have got a more two-way defender. Because at the moment, what we've got with Byram and Firpo is we've got Byram that's better on the defensive side, Firpo who's far superior going forward. We don't have a mix of one. I think possibly Jaden Bogle's our most complete one, if you like, and people still question mark his defensive capabilities at times. But I just feel like we've done it again in this instance where we've got Isaac Schmidt for an attacking fullback sense, but Farker doesn't feel comfortable playing him. And we've heard Farker before, even before Tanaka got a run, and Schmidt himself, when just after they were signed, about them needing to feel comfortable and everything else. They haven't played at this kind of level, even though they've played in second divisions elsewhere. It won't be as high as England. And I take that into account. But if you weren't confident in that, then we should have spent that money elsewhere and gotten another left back that you would feel more confident plugging and playing when Junior Firpo is out suspended or needs a rest. And that's the thing for me. The game yesterday was crying out for an Isaac Schmidt kind of fullback because there was no overlap on the left. There was nothing, and that means that you just limited the dimension of the attack, and the attack wasn't good enough yesterday. The attack wasn't good enough. The passing wasn't good enough. We saw that. We've been through that. But I just feel that if you're not going to use him, why have we brought him in when we know that we need the help this instance right now? But maybe we'll get that answered in the press conference this week before the Plymouth game. I hope we do get an answer or two. Manor Solomon as well. We spoke about him in detail yesterday as well, about his current cameos and his admission himself that he's not been good enough. Well, Daniel Farker has come out with another analogy. He does have some wild analogies. I'm not going to lie, Daniel Farker. You come up with something. All right, you come up with something. But he spoke about Solomon yesterday, and he compares his form to a bottle of ketchup. You shake it up, and you never know when it's going to suddenly flow. Right. I mean, I understand what he's trying to say here, but with Manor Solomon, we're not talking about a young kid here. We're not talking about a promising prospect. Like, let's say if we got Raksaki on loan from Palace and he started slowly and he had an injury and then we got to bend him back in. We're not talking about that. We're not even talking about a Jaden Anthony situation like last season. We're talking about a player here who's played in the Champions League, played at top level, full international, and we're paying £50,000 a week. You're supposed to be the impact man. And the thing is, for me, there's no excuses in it. Leeds United knew that his injury history. We knew he was going to have to get up to speed with his fitness. So that doesn't really fly for me. But what I want to see now from Manor Solomon, he's got a whole week to prepare for this game against Plymouth. It's home cooking. He will be needed, as we've seen with Dan James. He's not fully up to speed. He gave us as good as he could yesterday. But I think even Danny Farker would probably admit that he didn't want to play Dan James for as long as he did yesterday. But we're going to need Manor Solomon to fix up and quick. I do think at this level, I will say it, if he's fit, he can be an asset. But at this moment in time, he's not an asset. And I'm trying to be polite here because I want to give him some grace as he is coming back from a fresh injury on top of the previous injuries he's had. But for 50 bags a week, Leeds United, you could have secured a much more reliable player. And this is the point I was making. It's a good signing if he's fit, but that's the thing. It's an if. It's a big if. So we'll give him time. Let's see how he gets on this week. Let's see against Plymouth if he does start, if he does come on a sub. But we need to see a bit more a bit more fluidity in his movement for a start. And I'll leave it there for now because I do, like I say, I do want to give him some grace. But at 50,000 pounds a week, we're not getting what we're paying for at this moment in time. We're not. And listen, after yesterday's games, here we are, us and Burnley here, we just can't seem to get, proper runs together. We're not losing, but we're not winning a bunch of games. Sunderland get another win. I know a lot of you now are jumping on the Sunderland hype train. I would still say it's far too early to think of them as the new Ipswich and things like that. But the way you stop them from being the new Ipswich is taking care of your games, and that's what you do. You win the games like we did that we had yesterday against Bristol City. It's as simple as that. We're Leeds United with a very good squad in this division, very good squad, and we should be doing better. The output should be better, and that's a collective from the manager, the players on the pitch as well. It's a collective effort, of course it is, but also the way you set up, you are a mirror of your manager, and that's always the case. If you're not, there's no point of head coaches being there. There's no point. So we do need to prepare better, especially for the half 12 games. Yet again, let me just do this before we leave. That stat is just not good enough, and we're going to need to improve that as we know, more of our games will be moved. And we also, because I know this because I'm going to be in transit on the way back from this game, we've also got a 1:30 kickoff, this month again, well, sorry, in November against Blackburn, away from home. So hopefully we're better prepared for that. Maybe the extra hour will give us time for the pasta to digest. I don't know, but we shall see, people. But listen, few points in there for you to digest and think over and talk about. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one, people. Peace out.